Good morning, all of us brave people who do not let fog get in our way. Okay, so there was a Catholic priest, a Baptist preacher, and a Jewish rabbi. And they were all doing internship at a university up in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And, they'd get together for coffee a couple of times a week. And they started talking about the idea of, it's one thing to preach to humans, to people, to young adults, but it would be a completely different thing to convert a bear. And so after some conversation, they decided, let's do it. We'll meet again next week. Let's go find ourselves some bears. So off they went. So Father Flannery found the first bear. And he found the first bear. And when they came together 7 days later, they weren't at the coffee shop. They were now at the hospital. Because Father Flannery, he had crutches, he had an arm in a sling. And he says, well, I went to the woods to find me a bear, and I found a bear. And I got to tell you, he started slapping me around. So I just sprinkled him with some holy water, and that bear became a lamb. That's all that bear needed. In fact, the Pope's going to come in next week, and we're going to give him his first communion. He is like into it. Well, Reverend Billy Bob went next, and he's like, well, that's Baptist. We don't sprinkle anything. So I found myself a bear, and you know what? I started reading God's word, and he was not going to have any of it. And we wrestled and rolled up and down some hills. Finally, we landed up in a creek, and I just baptized him. Just dunked him, his head underwater. And again, he was just like a lamb. Of course, he's telling this story because he now has 2 broken legs and he's in a wheelchair. But then they turn to the rabbi. And the rabbi is in like a full body cast. Right? And the rabbi says, you know what? When I look back on it, starting with circumcision was probably not the right idea. When we look back on it, that's what we're doing this month. We're looking back on the basics of this teaching. And Reverend Joanne started us off with sharing that she got into this teaching through someone who had come to town was presenting a workshop at her place of work, at her brokerage firm. And then last week, Reverend Sherry shared that she got into this teaching with an incredible inspirational speaker, Terry Cole Whitaker, who drew huge crowds in San Diego. And I got into this teaching through a psychologist. Kind of first session with the psychologist, and she's like, okay, you know what? You need to stop pleasing others, start figuring out how to be happy, and you need to go to this church to hang out with people who are always happy on the inside. And I've been hanging out with people who are happy on the inside ever since. So thank you for coming here this morning and hanging out with me. Back to basics. The basics of this teaching, the first basic thought is the thing itself. These are all in the basics of this teaching are spelled out in the introductory section of the Science of Mind textbook, before you even get to chapter 1, right? Holmes has basically told you everything he's going to tell you. And he tells you, and he tells you, and he tells you, which is why the book is so thick. But it's all in the first few pages. So it's the thing itself. It's spirit. It's God. It's universal law. It's whatever you want to call it. But it is totally and completely impersonal. Completely impersonal. And it's everywhere all the time because that's all that there is. That's it. There's no judgment because it's all just love. That's it. It's all just love. The way it works is through each and every one of us, whether we're conscious of it or not. It's how it experiences its creation. It is how it supports us. It is how it continues to create. And what it does is it just says, yes, my beloved. That's it, just yes. To whatever we are focusing on, be it good stuff, be it bad stuff, be it what we want, be it what we don't want. You get it? It just says yes. And how it works is through cause and effect. That whole idea of what I think about, backed with my feelings and my beliefs and my actions, is what comes about. So, it sounds so simple, right? Because we all want good stuff. And we all really just want good stuff. We want a good life. But can we really define the good stuff as easily as we can define the not so good stuff, right? We all know what we don't want. So it's about becoming more clear about what we do want. Ernest Holmes, his book, This Thing Called You, writes, "Life lies open to me, rich, full, and abundant." That is our truth. That is everyone's truth. Everyone. Every living being on this planet is that truth. And this is not something that's just unique to the science of mind. Holmes goes on and writes, "The philosophy of religious science is nothing new to the world. It is rather a synthesis of the greatest concepts that have ever come to the mind of man. The law of Moses, the love of Christ, the ethics of Buddha, the morals of Confucius, the deep spiritual realization of the Hindus, the mystical revelations of the saints in the Middle Ages, the laws of paracel and compensation by Emerson, the logic of Kant, the spirituality of Swedenborg, the beauty of Browning, the wide universal sweep of Walt Whitman, all find an exalted place in this philosophy. I've never had a revelation, but I do know that what I acquired here on earth was wisdom, and that is available long after I'm gone. You will find the truth because it belongs to everyone." This teaching is about how we use it. This teaching is about how we complement the one and how we allow ourselves to co-create in that wonderful place of love. It's about being aware that we are in that divine partnership and that life is not happening to us ever. It is happening through us, just through us. And when we are in that divine partnership and we are aware of our creative force, which is life itself, right? We are creating our life through our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and our actions. And when we are ready for something new, then all we need to do is have new thoughts, new feelings, new beliefs. We need to take new words and put them to work in our life. That's it. We just have to let go of what's no longer working for us and step into more of what is, which takes us to that place of awareness and gratitude. Giving thanks for what is really working in our life is the surest way we have of getting more that's really working in our life. Gratitude and awareness. The thing about awareness is that it has more potential than we can ever imagine. That was why the reading was so important today. Pause. Pause. And in that pause, become aware. And in that pause, we can become renewed. just by taking a pause, breathing in that God stuff, can totally reset us. Isn't that amazing? We are just amazing people. Truly amazing. We are so amazing we don't even believe how amazing we are. We are created out of God's stuff. And it is not only our privilege and our right to consciously create a life well lived, it is also our responsibility. It is our responsibility to the one to experience its creation through us as love and as joy and as prosperity and all things good. That is our responsibility, I believe. And when we get clear on that, then we become really clear on the fact that it starts from the first cause, remembering whose and whose we are, remembering that we are it, in our own little expression of it. Rumi, right? I am not an ocean, but the whole ocean is in that drop that I am. My universe is part of the universe. And it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to consciously make it the best universe within the universe that we can make it. And the basics of this teaching are not just, as Holmes said, up to Holmes. I want you to hear this. I'm going to do some statements from the Bible, but I invite you to listen to it with new ears. Ears that know that we are made of God stuff. In Proverbs, for as he thinketh in his heart, so he is. We got, oh, this is what I just said. Okay, this is what we're saying now. You will decide upon a matter, and it will be established for you. And that's setting an intention. In Mark, therefore I say unto you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. Can it be any clearer? It starts on the inside. It starts with believing on the inside. Mark, all things are possible to those who believe. And believe in what? Believe in the infinite possibilities. Believe that we are worthy of more. Luke, the things that are impossible with men are possible with God. On our own, we can do little compared to what we can do in that divine partnership. And it's all about partnership. Because remember, it only says yes. It doesn't debate, it doesn't judge, it doesn't say, who do you think you are, to make such a request, to think you're worthy of that. It just says yes. Actually, it says, yes, my beloved. And on our own steam, we cannot do near as much as we can when we allow Spirit to do that heavy lifting. There's an ancient text called Dhammapada, and it's a Buddhist text. And it's an idea from Buddha of how to live an awakened life. And it says, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. Our thoughts, we make the world. And with our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you. As your shadow unshakable. Like right there with you. The central text of the Tao is the Tao Te Ching. And this is a book about, basically it's about roughly how things work, basically. And their God is really a non-personal thing as well. It's called the creative God principle is how they address it. And they write, this single principle can be found everywhere all the time because everything works according to it. And by knowing Tao, I know how things happen. In other words, if I know my relationship with the infinite, and I court that relationship, and I honor it, and I give thanks for it, and I pause throughout the day and let myself be reminded that it is always there. As long as we're in that space, things just start to work. Even if we're not clear on what we want, clarity starts to happen. Things start to happen. Life starts to become easier. Course in Miracles writes, because of your likeness to your Creator, you are creative. We are made in the image and likeness of Source. We're a chip off the old block, as they say. Think about it. We are. It's all we can be. And it is about embracing that I believe is the key to living this philosophy. And it seems so easy, but it's really not. Because when we realize that there is only one, and that one is God, and that one is divine, and is expressing through us, working for us, we also have to acknowledge that that is the truth for every single being on this planet. Seriously. Every single being on this planet. And as we respect ourselves, we should be respecting every other being on this planet, whether they think like us, act like us, talk like us, or not. Because see, that's when we get to that place, where we know that we're truly all one, and that all that one is that good God stuff. When we get to that place, then we have totally become awakened to our truth. And once we're awakened, there is no going back. When we really embrace our oneness, there is so much that we can do. There is so much, actually, not that we can do, but that we can receive. Because when we embrace that oneness, we're already giving from that place of love. Emerson, as a man thinks, so he is. As a man chooses, so he is. And so is his life in nature. I love that idea. I love that idea that we can choose to acknowledge our divinity. We can choose to acknowledge our oneness. And we can choose to allow ourselves new eyes as we look upon others. And open our hearts. And from there, amazing things come rushing in. We all know that. We've all experienced it, right? We all have. It's about giving thanks for what we have experienced, and then giving thanks for what we are going to experience from that place of divine oneness, from that place of truth, the one truth, recognizing the one law, cause and effect. It's about a new way to look at, a new way to believe in, a new way to be, to do, by being our oneness, by seeing ourselves first from that place of power and knowledge and deservingness, if that's even a word. Deservingness. Once we realize that we deserve everything that we could possibly imagine, then we get to Recognize that everyone deserves everything they can possibly imagine. And all of a sudden, well, it's just sort of love, right? In the end. So, my friends, this morning, my question to you is, what are you thinking? What are you focusing on? And my assignment, if you choose to take it, is to take a pause every now and then and ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I focusing on? Is this really the best use of my mental space, of my emotional space? Let me just breathe in some God first and move to that place where my thinking aligns with my true nature of love and abundance and all things good in the world. So with that, I'd like to close this off with a spiritual mind treatment, if you would join me. Oh, just take that breath, that God breath, and just remember that it is the one, in divine partnership always. And from that place, I easily and effortlessly claim a higher expression of it in all of my affairs. That there is a clarity of focus and ease and a grace throughout my entire life. And I just need to remember to breathe into it. Oh, and I give thanks for this great memory. Because right here and right now, my willingness to be that greater expression, to take up that responsibility of divine kinship, I accept. I let go of anything that's not working for me, and I just welcome. I welcome all of the good that is rushing in right here and right now. It is with such gratitude that I say thank you. For all that is, all that has been, all that will be, I say thank you. Thank you, Spirit, for doing all of the heavy lifting and allowing me to be brightly and divinely guided. That is the truth. I let it go, and so it is. So it is.